Okay, we're live.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for visiting the Board of Montezuma County Commissioners today. We are going to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll start with our agenda. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, have you had the opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes, I have, and I think Commissioner
Yes, sir.
Candelaria has the copies.
I
of the
have, and
minutes.
I would like to do it all in one sweep. I'd like to approve the minutes for April 20th, Monday of last week, the 21st, Tuesday, and then Monday, the 23rd, for approval as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the proceedings of the Board of Montezuma County Commissioners for the month of April 21st, the April 20th, and April 23rd of 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And then we're going to go ahead on our agenda. The sheriff needs to be somewhere else, so we're going to jump ahead of the emergency manager, Jim, just for a second. We're going to have our sheriff come up.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sheriff.
I've got two documents. Both are from the U.S. Forest Service. The first one is the 5-year co-op agreement that we have. It's updated every 5 years. And then the second one is for this year's 2020 law enforcement co-op agreement, where it is the same as what it was last year, but they will pay the sheriff's office $7,500 for the patrols.
Sheriff, have you asked for any increases from the Forest Service on any of your contractual agreements with them?
Every year.
Every year? And
I was hoping I'd get 10,000.
yeah.
But didn't work out, so I'll keep asking for more every single year. Eventually, I'm going to get there. I
Yeah.
always will. Because, 15, 12, 20 years ago, we were talking about this thing to help.
Wow.
And that's why there was more boat patrols and
Right.
everything else out there.
Right.
It's a little hard to do with just 7,500, but we make it work. Do the best we can with it.
Right. You give them what their money will buy them. I hope that's what you do, is that you just give them just what their money will buy them. Okay. All right. Okay. I would like to move, based upon the sheriff's consent, that we approve the cooperative law enforcement agreement between Montezuma County Sheriff's Office and the U.S. Forest Service for a 5-year period, 2020 to 2025.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the cooperation law enforcement agreement between the Montezuma County Sheriff's Office and the USDA Forest Service on the San Juan Forest for the year of 2020 to, did you say
25.
2025. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And then the second contract is this single annual contract, another cooperative law enforcement operating plan, annual operating plan and financial plan between Montezuma County Sheriff's Department and the USDA Forest Service for the year ending December 31st, 2020.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the cooperation law enforcement annual operating plan and financial plan between the Montezuma County Sheriff's Office and the USDA Forest Service, San Juan National Forest, the 2020 annual operating plan. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I always present these to you before I sign, so
Yeah.
I'll sign it after you, and I can run these to Kim. Hi, Kim.
She's out there.
Okay.
Yeah, there she is.
Before I get a copy, and I'll scan them and send them back for their signatures.
All three of us have to sign those, Commissioners, or just Chairman?
It's showing just one.
Just one, good. Okay.
We'll go right on to the emergency management update. Jim Spratlin. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Jim.
Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
Morning there, Administrator, and good morning to everybody else.
Yes, I'm about 80.
Okay, so just a quick overview. You have the situation assessment report, so I'm not going to go over every single detail, but the last 7 days, again, we've been working on numerous projects, and you know, just to highlight that some of them we're still working on securing needed supplies, building a system to identify our special needs population. We're still long-term planning on this recovery piece that we're moving forward on that started on Monday. We're still assisting businesses in recovery, getting a lot of products, donations, and we're trying to build all this information into some usable format so we can move forward as well. The guys are putting that together really well. I sent to the state the documents for the approval of a non-congregant shelter. They're supposed to let me know today on the approval of that. And again, we built another support plan for our multi-agency coordinating group to follow for the rest of this week. And one of the things that we added to it, of course, was to continue situation awareness based on the changes that occur and keep occurring in this transition guidance that we give to the public. So we're going to spend a lot of time making sure the public's aware of that this week, of course, starting today. As far as our emergency support functions, you know, transportation, normal operations, they're actually low on their amount of people. The county transportation is low on the average per day, moving people around. They're still helping Meals on Wheels. Communications, normal operations. Public Works and Engineering, looks like everything's normal operations. Firefighting, normal operations. Emergency management, we're still having our meetings on Mondays and Fridays, and on Wednesdays are kind of a question and answer. We did add another position to our public information officer to assist in getting more information out and helping Vicki work on everything. And of course, we're emphasizing to all those support functions to start working on recovery processes. So we're working on that as well, each one of us. The mass care and assistance in housing, we're doing well. We're actually do have somebody in one of our shelters right now, just taking care of them. So we're pleased that system worked well, thanks to social services and public health. Our logistics management, we're still working hard at trying to get a lot of the different PPE. One of the issues that just came up this morning, as a matter of fact, is they're pushing orders further out. So we're having to find some other suppliers. So I'm working on that, trying to keep that going. Public health, medical services, we're still, you know, same capacity of beds at the hospital. EMS, normal operations, we're still testing people. Colorado results, you've seen what we were actually at 13,879 cases, and we've had 66,341 people tested, and we're up as of last night at about 4:30. We're at 706 deaths. The safety considerations, again, we are surrounded by our county. La Plata County is up to 61. Archuleta County's 8. San Juan County, New Mexico is 463 now with 35 deaths. San Miguel County's at 19. Apache County in Arizona, 362 with 5 deaths. And San Juan County, Utah is 45 with 2 deaths. The Navajo Nation jumped again. They're at 1,716 cases and 59 deaths. So Montezuma County, at this point, we're at 15 positive cases, 287 negative tests, 2 deaths and 11 recovery. And of course, any new positive cases, we start working on contact tracing immediately. Everything else is at normal operations from energy and natural resources that I'm aware of. Public safety, normal operations, just trying to get through it's going to start picking up, we're pretty sure, because the people are out and about now. Long-term recovery, there's still planning department, still working closely with the business owners and Tri-City Chambers of Commerce with the Montezuma Business Task Force, so we're assisting them there. And then our public information, they're getting a lot of information out there to the public, but I believe because we had a meeting yesterday, we discussed that information. I know public health is going to come out with a little bit more information on how to assist the businesses, so we're going to send that out today as well, because that information is fairly convoluted, and we want to make sure all the business owners are aware of what's going on and what precautions to take. We do have a few, let's see here. The county employees coming back to work. There's a few at risk still at home. The facilities at the county, of course, have been prepared, and we're following all the guidelines and keeping that safe for everybody. The National Guard doing an outstanding job assisting in trying to collect all the statistics, planning, logistical support along with Team Rubicon, so they've been helping. And then you were, I think, the board was aware, the general from the National Guard showed up, very concerned about our county, and came in and wanted to talk to us, and took a lot back with him, so that was good. And he brought with him, of course, the Department of Homeland Security Emergency Management Director of the Office of Emergency Management with him. So they were able to see firsthand and hear us in the briefing afterwards on our concerns. So hopefully that it's going up to the state and they're getting some idea what's going on. The business industry, I've been checking around. A lot of the food suppliers, they're keeping up with the demand. We're going to be waiting on, I guess what we're going to look at for this whole week is we're just on standby. We're looking and seeing what impacts and benefits that are going on to our community right now based on this new transition plan that's being implemented. We're working closely now, as of today, around $99,130 we've spent in COVID expenses. And mainly our high impact issues are media coverage, trying to get resources, and then, of course, the worst is the 2 deaths in the population of Montezuma County. The last 2 cases that were positive were April 22nd. So, so far so good. So that's what I have for everybody today, short and sweet.
Questions, Commissioner?
I actually do have a question, Jim. What, you said as far as the PPE being pushed back farther, what is the, as far as the PPE, what are you short of the most? Is it gloves, masks, shields? What is it?
So, let's see, I'm still on, okay. So we're holding our own right now. We've got a lot of the cloth masks going out. What I'd like to do is get some of those procedure masks. And I know that Public Health's got a few, but I'd like to make sure we have enough of those to hand out to all of the county employees and, of course, you know, emergency services to wear, to use in the jail as well. So I think mainly the procedure masks. I want to make sure we have enough hand disinfectant. We're okay with cleaning up around phones and desks with other disinfectant, but hand disinfectant, I put the order in. That's coming actually sooner than the rest. We want to get some of the thermometer guns for our facilities. Those are actually coming in, but the procurement masks are the ones that keep getting pushed out. And then, of course, if our first responders, as far as EMS and the firefighters and paramedics in our volunteer agencies, they're okay for now, but I'd like to be able to get my hands on some CDC-approved N95s, which are hard to come by. So spending a lot of time researching and getting with the state as well. Hopefully we can keep those coming in at the proper times and not get the orders pushed back through the different suppliers that I've been working with.
Okay, thank you.
Jim, one question from Commissioner Attell. I've seen in other areas where they have been able, through ultraviolet light and some sterilization of reuse of some of the masks especially. Do we have anything in Montezuma County, an autoclave or anything that we can do any sterilization or repurposing of any of the masks that we've got that we could maybe find a reuse for if they can be sterilized or cleaned up?
Yes, sir. I think Tony was talking from the hospital. They have an ultraviolet instrument. So we're trying to, we're telling the first responders, don't throw all your masks out unless they get completely wore out or pretty filthy. It depends on the situation. But we can still sterilize them with that unit. According to public health, it seems to be, it does work. So, yes, we do have that available that we can utilize as well.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate the update as always.
Thank you, sir.
All right. We are planning on the agenda next, the McCampbell Flume for a final vote, and we have the planning director, Don Haley, to present.
Morning, Don.
Morning, gentlemen. How are you?
We're good.
So you did a preliminary vote to send this to the Historical Society. They did a virtual meeting, and I think they sent a letter in dated April 14th that their Historical Society board approved and recommended this to be added to the Montezuma Historical Register. So now we just need for you guys to do a final vote so we can get that listed on there and get the documents recorded.
Well, I would like to move that the Board of County Commissioners support the Montezuma County Historical Society and their Montezuma Valley Irrigation Company flume number 6, McElmo Creek flume on the Montezuma County Historical Registry.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the designation of the Montezuma Valley Irrigation Company flume number 6, the McCampbell Creek flume, to the Montezuma County Historic Registry. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Don.
you.
And we'll get that recorded.
Yep. Tell Ann and them, thank them, and hope their museum's still moving forward, I hope.
No. Any updates on planning? Anything in the pipeline?
No, we've got our softwares up and running so that applicants can be getting permits and going through the process remotely. So
Good for you guys.
there's a couple of bugs here and there, but we're getting that all worked out, and we've had quite a few contacts coming in on people starting the process. So.
Good.
Well, it's
All right.
planned on doing that before the coronavirus, so it's,
Yeah.
It's fitting right in, man. Yeah.
We got up and live just in time to be able to serve people. So.
Sweet.
Do you have any anticipation, I know, and maybe you don't have this or an answer for this, but with the moratorium that's going on in La Plata County, do you anticipate any overflow from that, from talking to Laura, or do you?
I don't know business-wise, probably 50% of our phone calls and stuff are from people or realtors from over there already looking at Montezuma County. But primarily that's to build for residences. Some of them, of course, might be doing home businesses and stuff that doesn't require any other permitting. But I would think there may be some business growth or anticipation of some development from the business aspect in the county with that moratorium.
Great.
But-
And that's kind of what I was really talking about is.
Right.
I know we are getting some overflow from residential, but
Mhm.
the businesses are what.
Right.
I'd like to entice them or invite them or.
We want to
I'm not
have
sure.
open arms if they call.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. I've talked to a couple, and I think it's just a matter of time and money right now, trying to figure out when and how they want to develop a new business startup with the conditions,
Sure.
It's pretty uneasy on how things are going to progress and how quick, so I think they may be looking more than actually following through until things kind of get lined out and up and running again.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Don.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Don.
Noxious Weed Department, we have Megan Horn's going to be filling in for Bonnie Loving. She's out today. Megan, how are you today? Can you take it off of mute? It's showing you're still on. Oh, there you go.
Oh, still on mute. There we go. Now we got it.
Good morning, Megan. How are you?
Good morning. Pretty good. How are you?
We're doing okay.
Great.
Good. Okay, so I just have some write-up entries for you guys to look over and hopefully sign. Okay. Looks like the first one I have is for IMM on County Road P. We've sent them letters in 2017, 2018, 2019. They did sign for a certified letter the 2nd of this month. We have not received any communication back. They have a huge infestation of hoary cress. I do have some pictures there for you. That's just right, of course, right there from the roadside. Our concern is that the hoary cress is clear through. You can see as it comes all the way up through those trees and some stuff like that. That's the little white and kind of yellowish plant there in the pictures. Okay, then we've got VOT on County Road 28. They also have hoary cress, and then an array of thistles. We sent them letters in 2016, 2018, and 2019. We have not received communication back. And then they signed for a certified letter March 14th, 2020. And again, no response back from them. This is actually one of the properties we put our sign on. So we posted a sign at the property, waited 45 days, and again, no response. They have quite a bit of hoary cress. Their surrounding neighbors are all hay farmers. And so their neighbors are clearly fighting it, but they are not. And then we have the Bartell family. That's in Mancus down Weber Canyon. It's on Road 41, 4748 Road 41. They have quite a few different weeds. They've got some Russian knapweed, musk thistle, Canada thistle, perennial pepperweed, hoary cress. They did sign for a letter on the 7th of April. I did make a little bit of contact with them. They saw me taking some pictures of the property. I did tell them, they needed to get back with us and give us that management plan, but they have not done so. Their property's kind of a mess just in general. Okay. And then we have Vaught and Robson on 29623 Road M. They have hoary cress. They signed for a letter the 2nd of this month. They've received letters in 2015, 2016, 2018, and 2019. And they are just completely infested with hoary cress. You look at the picture there. I mean, it's up to the house all the way down to the roadside there.
That looks like a very small piece of property, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It is not a large piece of property, no.
Tiny.
I believe, if I look, let me check to see how many acres they have. It's not a large piece of property, but it sure is infested. That's the Bartells. Let me check here. It's 3.06 acres is their entire property.
Small.
No excuse in that, man.
Is that all of them, Megan?
That's all. That's all we have for today. Yes, sir.
Commissioners, any discussion?
No,
I have-
I just, no excuse for that. I mean,
No,
if you're
I
on
think we have to stay on top of this
Yep, and I think we
specifically
keep-
to keep the
And
rest of
obviously, this
the.
has been ongoing for at least 4 years
4
on every
years.
one of these properties. They've been written and asked to do something, and they've basically stonewalled our weed department, and so now
You-
it's time.
Megan, you've had no contact other than they've signed the letter, and you've actually talked to the Bartell
The
family?
Bartell, Yes, I did make some contact with them. I asked them to please, they were outside when I was taking pictures of the property. For this presentation, I did tell them they needed to get me, that management plan, but I have not received any communication from them.
Okay. Well, then I would move that we accept the resolution granting Montezuma County Weed Program or its designees right of entry onto the property to control noxious weeds based on the affidavit of County Weed Supervisor, Noxious Weed Resolution number 1-2020.
And 2,
So-
3, and 4, 2020.
And 2, 2020, and 3, 2020, 4, 2020.
I will second that motion.
Motion is second to approve the resolution granting Montezuma County Weed Program on its designee right of entry and 2 properties to the control of the noxious weeds based on affidavits of the County Weed Supervisor, Noxious Weed Resolution 1, 2, 3, and 4, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Megan, I got a request.
Yeah.
I would hope that one of you guys could go up to the parking lot on Road M.
Okay.
The new parking lot, it's called the Simon Draw for the new bike trail. And-
Okay.
And then walk on the trail going east to where it takes you into Cache Canyon.
Right.
And you would, and look that over, it's on the BLM property. But it has
Okay.
hoary crest everywhere.
Oh, darn it. Okay. Yeah, I can get on that right away.
Which one is that?
It's the parking lot off of Road M.
Road in, as in Nancy?
No, M as in Mary.
M
Just
as
go
in
through
Mary.
Cache Canyon and then the parking lot's on the left. But then walk back east towards the La Platas and you'll just walk down the bike trail and it'll take you right to the bottom.
Okay. On the bike trail. Okay, perfect. I can do that.
Yeah, and then it'd be great to get some feedback from the weed department on that.
Yes, definitely.
I rode down to Farmington the other afternoon, and once you get into New Mexico, that road, that I think it's Highway 40 or 41, something like that, it's just lined with that white top. Stuff is everywhere along that road for 20, 25, 30 miles. Just like in those pictures, man. Stuff's taken over.
Thank you, Megan. We
Yep,
appreciate
thank
it.
you, thank
Yes,
you and
thank
Bonnie.
you.
All right, take care. We've
too.
already went
Bye.
through the sheriff's contracts. We bumped him up to the first on the agenda. He had to be somewhere else. So now we're down to public services, and we're going to start off with the Department of Social Services, Gina Montoya and Lori Higgins. Gina, floor is yours.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
Shaq, John, and
Morning.
Kim. How are you all?
Doing
We're
well.
good.
Great.
Go ahead, Gina.
So are we going to start off with the minutes for approval?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Last month's minutes for approval, please.
I would make a motion to approve the record of proceedings for the Montezuma County Department of Social Services for March 24th, 2020.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the Montezuma County Board of Social Services meeting on Tuesday, March 24th, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's taken care of.
Thank you. And you have the budget, you have the financials in front of you, correct?
Yes.
Correct. And
Okay.
if you guys have looked at them, I'd like to go ahead and move that we accept the financials for the Montezuma County Department of Social Services in the amount of $1,107,596.56.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Commissioner Candelaria, a second made by Commissioner Tell to approve the expenditures for the Social Service Department of Montezuma County for March in the amount of $1,107,596.56. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. There you go, Gina.
As you notice, there's a difference from last month's on the EBT totals. It increased, it was 900,000 last month, and now it's 729,000. The decrease is because of LEAP. LEAP has decreased, so that's how come you're going to see that big number drop there. And I just wanted to note that for you guys.
Not paying the utilities now, huh?
What's that?
Not paying the gas and the heating and stuff, correct?
Right, so it's going to decrease. As you see, the number went to
Yeah.
729, and last month it was 908,000.
Yeah.
What is the acronym for LEAP again? I'm sorry.
Low Income Energy Assistance Program.
I'm
Say
sorry.
that again.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Low Income Energy Assistance Program. That's the LEAP program, where folks get help from the state in order to buy their heating, whatever they need to heat their home.
Thank you, Gina.
I just want to let you know that our Medicaid numbers have increased. New applications came in March. We increased Medicaid applications by 100. And I don't know if that's because it's being COVID-19 related or not, because we don't have a code like that in CDMS we don't ask folks why they're enrolling for Medicaid, but it's jumped to 100 from last month. Wanted to let you all know that. Our eligibility technicians have been fully operational, and they're keeping on board. They're keeping their numbers and doing the enrollments as needed. So, we're pretty busy as it is, but when we opened up yesterday, traffic was slow, and I don't know if it's going to increase, or I don't know why people aren't coming in, but that's okay because they can still call in and turn in their applications at our drop box outside.
Gina, can I ask you a question about the increase?
Mm-hmm.
So what would that be if you was to convert it to a percentage? 100 of what? I mean, what was?
Well, I can just give you the numbers. In February, it was 241 new Medicaid applications, and for March, it was 691. So that's an increase by over 100.
So it's double,
300% increase.
almost double.
Yeah.
From 300 to 600?
It was 500. It was 241 new enrollments for Medicaid in February.
Right.
Then I looked in March, and we had 355 new enrollments.
Okay, I thought you said, so 600 and some total, okay.
All right, thank you, Gina.
We're doing the best we can, and our staff is staying positive. Child protection has been fully operational. We do most of our meetings with WebEx or Zoom, and so far it's been going fairly well. We do have a couple of employees who are still working remotely from home because they have underlying medical conditions, and we just take one day at a time as it is. There's a lot to do, and my staff are doing what they need to do, so I'm very basically happy with what we're doing for our community. I do hope that we can get a one day out of the week where we are serving the most vulnerable population, and I think Shaq's working on that as well, so we can open the doors only for one day for those who are disabled or 65 years of age plus, and hopefully we can have one day like set aside from 8 to 12, and hopefully we can decide what day it is. Hopefully it could be Wednesday, where they would have the opportunity to be served by our county offices. So I think that's a needed request, and I think it would serve our most vulnerable population in our community, so they could come in and be served, and they don't have to wait in long lines, because we're practicing the safe distancing with the 6 feet tape marking, and hopefully we can start that for next week if we get everyone's cooperation.
Are you having trouble with long lines? Are you having trouble with long lines right now?
We don't have long lines now, but if we had a set aside day for the vulnerable population, we have that announced. At least they know that they won't have to be waiting in a long line, because this is going to continue for some time. So I think we just have to have a plan in mind.
Any additional questions, Commissioners?
I have none.
I just have one, Gina. Did an employee give you that apple behind you?
We all need to eat our apples, okay?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Gina, for the update from the social services for the month of March.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a great day.
You too.
Veteran Services, Rick Torres
Yeah, good morning, Rick. Welcome to our lair. Good to have you present, man.
Good morning, Rick.
Good to be back in the fight. Good morning,
Yeah.
Does she see the signature?
Turn your microphone on, Rick.
Yes.
For short people.
Thank you.
I think I gave Shaq my report, the paper copy.
You did, and I just handed it down. They're trying to figure out where to sign.
Thank you.
The one with the envelope on the front, guys, is veterans.
Okay, got it. So I would move that we accept the certification of pay for the Montezuma County Veterans Service for April in the amount of $87.91.67. I'm sorry, March.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the certification of pay for the Montezuma County Veteran Services for the month of March 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners. We'll make sure and get that to the state office as soon as possible. As far as our activity for last month in March, I always like to compare it to the previous year. And you'll see that in March of 2019, our office assisted 218 veterans and their survivors. When you look at last month, we saw a decrease of 58 visitors into our office. We had a total of 160 visitors last month. Out of those 160, 12 were new clients. This is when the coronavirus started becoming actively engaged, or we started actually engaging the combat of this virus. So you'll see that decrease. It's not surprising at all to me. When we first started hearing about the virus, early in the month, I just didn't do any house call or nursing home visits. So that explains why there's no house calls and nursing home visits. We did sneak in 5 community events, outreach events, and 3 community events. We did file 14 claims last month. 9 claims were decided. Of those 14 claims, 14 claims were filed, 9 were decided. We had a total of, we were notified by the VA that we had 16 favorable decisions of older claims that were filed. 2 were unfavorable or denied, and we had none that were confirmed or continued. So it was a pretty active month regardless of the virus as far as claims to the VA. Those 9 claims that were decided, you're going to notice there was, those folks are going to bring in a little over $13,000 a month for a total of $158,000 in March. And back pay was $55,000, a little over $55,000 in back pay. So far, year to date, January through March, all our clients combined have won a little over $32,000 a month, just shy of $400,000 a year, and a little over $125,000 in back pay. So that's our activity as far as claims, winnings, losings, and income to the county indirectly. A couple of things we did initiate last month, and actually they did a news story in Denver about it. It was a video conference, or a video Zoom news article. We started doing wellness checks over the phone on our World War II and Korea veterans. Last month we made we started about the middle of the month, and we did 161 phone calls. We're all the way through our World War II and Korea veterans. We did identify some that had some issues. Then we would follow up with them within 24 to 48 hours to make sure those issues were resolved. And if not, we would get involved and activate the local VFW, DAV, and the Legion if we needed to. But those veterans from World War II and Korea, they were identified. We also did start calling our Vietnam veterans, and we continue to actively call the Vietnam veterans and their widows as well. A couple of questions that have come up from public officials, the public, our provider, shareholders, is the VA clinics. What's going on with them? The VA Grand Junction, Albuquerque, satellite offices, which is Durango Clinic, Farmington, and Moab. They are seeing patients, but they're doing telehealth. So kind of like what everybody's doing with Zoom or phone calls. If we have a veteran that does need labs, some of these guys and gals do need continuous action with monitoring of certain medications or certain illnesses that they have. They will take you for lab work if necessary. But for the most part, they're doing everything through phone and video conference. As far as the benefits part of the VA, that has never changed. For years now, the VA, the benefit part of the VA, they've been doing claims remotely anyway. The majority of the VA employees, they can work from home, and their computer laptop flags them the claims they have to work, and they just develop claims, make decisions, order exams, they do everything from home. So that has not been impacted at all. We've continued to file claims all this month, and I'll report on that next month for you. So I'll leave you with this, unless you have any other questions. Yesterday, we did open to the public. We had 4 veterans come in. All 4 veterans that did come in throughout the day, they wore a mask. They sat probably a little more than 6 feet away from me. We took care of their business, and then we always sanitize after they leave and before the first one comes in the morning. Today, we've had 1 so far as of the time that I left the office. So, you know, we're moving along like everyone else, following the guidance, and we look forward to getting back in the fight with our clients and the VA. Do you have any questions?
Any questions, commissioners?
Glad to see you're open.
I have none.
We're in the fight.
Glad to see you're there.
We're excited. Yes,
One
sir.
question for you. Where did you get a haircut?
What hair?
It's a black market haircut, yeah.
Yeah. No, I go cheap and I just do it myself. You can tell. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good rest of your month.
Rick, keep up the good work.
Take care.
Jennifer Morris for MoCo
I think it's right here.
Transportation. Thank you. Jennifer, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How are you guys today?
We're doing good.
Good. So just a couple of things. Ridership has drastically gone down. It first started in March where we ended the month at 673 rides. April, it looks like we're going to end the month at 204, which averages out about 10 per day, which is a lot less. However, we are doing Meals on Wheels, so that's kind of keeping us going. We did 119 meal deliveries in March, and then 301 so far in April. We have another 30 probably between today and Wednesday. We're not doing Cortez this week, but we are doing Dolores still. So their construction is they stopped their Meals on Wheels just for this week until Friday. So we'll help them again on Friday. So that Meals on Wheels is keeping us a little busier, so that's nice. We did get a CDOT COVID-19 grant that we'll be getting the paperwork for in the next couple of weeks, which probably will need a signature from the chair. So Larry Don, kind of look for that. I'm hoping to do that as a electronic signature, but we'll see how it works. And then, and that's for the things like Meals on Wheels and making sure things are paid. And we use that before we use the other grant that we have normally. And then we also got an extra $15,000 from AAA this for the next 3 months for the same reason, to do some home deliveries. They also are letting us do deliveries or pickups for people who don't want to go to the store. They can order their groceries and then we can pick them up and bring them to them. We can also do that for prescriptions as well. So we haven't actually picked up on that yet. I'm kind of surprised that I think most people are wanting to get out and about, so they're not wanting to do that. But with things opening up, we're probably going to start getting busy again. So hopefully that'll be better this month, or for May. But that's pretty much all I have today.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the Transportation Director?
No, I have none. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
We have Jonathan Parker up, Senior Services, and we'll be doing a remodel of our kitchen. How's everything going, Jonathan? Can you hear us?
They're tearing it up right now, so they got a bare kitchen right now, so that's a good thing.
Okay, go ahead, Jonathan. We can hear you now.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, no, the remodel's going great. They're tearing things apart, and it's looking really good. They're moving fast, so it's going to be exciting for sure.
Good.
And just the props to Moco. They really picked up a lot on what what Jennifer has talked about. They've really stepped up and are doing a lot of the meal deliveries for us. We still use a few volunteer drivers, community connections, but Moco has picked up the brunt of it. So that's been real helpful because our route numbers and our client numbers have increased quite a bit. So props to Moco. They've been very helpful. So on my update here, we'll go down real quick this list. So fiscally, we're in a really good position. And so that's just good news for us. We were able to secure so far a little over $75,000 in monies, a little over $50,000 from AAA, $20,000 some from the Next 50 initiative. We got some additional funding from Rocky Mountain Health. Additionally, from Rocky Mountain Health, they waived our requirements. That salad bar grant, we had gotten a little over $17,000 from that salad bar, and they waived the requirements for the salad bar. So the funds we're able to use at our discretion. And of course, once we open back up and have meals on site, we will begin the salad bar again. But in the meantime, if we need to use those funds for other areas, we can. But fiscally, we're in a really good spot. I wrote for an additional $25,000 to the Colorado Health Foundation. I feel comfortable we'll get that too. So this would tie us through all of the 2021 year. That's the idea, is to cover for the next year if it's needed, if this thing goes that long. But nonetheless, at least fiscally, we're in a good spot, and that's important for the food security. The frozen meal kits, we delivered about 200, a little over 200, about 220 of those 7-day box kits throughout the last 4 weeks. That's a total of 1,400 meals. Those boxes go to various clients. They go to some that are already on our Meals on Wheels program, and they go to new clients. We kind of have three categories of clients. We have some who are flat out in an emergency situation we'll get a box to. We have some that are just getting the box, and then we have some that are getting the Meals on Wheels plus a supplemental box of food. So that's kind of who those 200 boxes go to, and that's throughout the county. That includes the outlying sites, Mancos and Dolores. Tomorrow, Dolores will get their regular meal plus that box kit. The meals aren't bad. We've tried them out. I've had worse and I've had better, but they're not bad. So that's good news with the food. We are staying in touch, so I've designated one staff. I felt that early on it was kind of important to stay in touch with the seniors, in particular some of the newer clients, some of the ones that aren't maybe typically that use the program. We've got quite a few clients that were sent over from long-term options. We're not familiar with those folks, whereas we know our regular clients much better. So we're reaching out to everybody, at least kind of a touch basis type phone call, see how they're doing and if there's any needs that we can fulfill. We're doing some small shopping. If a person does not want to get out and they are vulnerable, in a vulnerable situation just due to their age or health or other issues, we are doing some small type grocery shopping and picking up other items, miscellaneous items for a few clients. We are contemplating developing an actual program. It's just, staff and I have just been talking about that, about developing it. I don't want to move ahead and put a program in place and then 3 months later it's a situation where we wouldn't need it. But that's kind of the talk at the state level through the State Unit on Aging, AAA. Those are just some thoughts right now. So in the meantime, we're going to help folks out as needed and then decide if we move into more of a more structured or stable program that's consistent. I also want to give props to the National Guard. Captain Yoakley reached out to us a few weeks ago, and if we could use their assistance. And every Monday, him and another guardsman are delivering one route throughout the county. It's a big route. It's not a whole lot of numbers. I think it's 8 clients, but they're spread all over. So it's really nice to have that. It frees up staff time. With this COVID, we have to do a lot of new data entry, and that kind of eats up some time. So I just want to give a heads up to the guard and Captain Yoakley for doing that. They show up 11 o'clock on Monday and pick up the boxes and deliver it, and so that's been a real help for us. I don't know how much longer they're going to be in the area, but if we get a few more weeks out of them, that will be a real plus. We've done, this is more of a rough guess, but I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 meals that I consider emergency meals, where we've had churches call, we've had people themselves call, we've had some veterans that showed up, came back from treatment or whatnot. Just a kind of a wide variety of people who, under the stay-at-home order, just did not get out, would not get out, could not get out, whatever those categories were. And we provided them frozen meals. Sometimes it was a box meal, sometimes it was meals from our kitchen, sometimes it was a combination. Our extra food that we cook for the day, we freeze those meals up, and so sometimes it was a home-cooked meal that was frozen. So there was quite a bit of that. We might get a call, and staff or me or someone else would get out a box or some food that day, and that was about 400 meals. It was quite a few of them. We've seen that number lessen quite a bit. There was about a 3-week period where we were getting a call almost daily, and I don't think anyone waited more than one day to get an emergency box or food, and in fact, in most cases, they were getting it that day. The client numbers, this is again a rough estimate. I haven't taken a look at the exact numbers. We're just now kind of getting our head wrapped around everything. But I would say it's about 50 new participants. It's likely more than that. It might be closer to 70. We don't know whether those clients will wind up staying on the program, whether they'll qualify under traditional AAA rules. But in the meantime, we're going to keep getting them food one way or another, whether it's a box meal or a home-cooked meal. Again, some are getting the on-site meal cooked, some are getting the box, and some are getting a blend of it. Kind of depending on what their need is. We kind of go through what their need is. Is it an emergency situation? What's their food security issue? Do they just need some supplemental meals? So we will continue that for a long time, or as long as needed, I guess I would say. And with this additional funding, and I have plenty of frozen meals secured. We have 200, not quite 200 in our storage out at the fairgrounds, and I have another 2,800 meals at the ready whenever I need to order them. So we're going to kind of take it slow to make sure we don't run out of those meals come fall or winter time, and this thing bounces back and we end up in a situation where we can't provide. So just kind of take it as it comes, and yet make sure people get their meals. The on-site meals, this is just, I really can't give a good answer on it, because in our provider meetings, the last bit of information we got from the AAA, who's getting their information from the State Union on Aging, was they see this potentially as a long-term thing for on-site meals. And that might be the initial thought right now, depending where the whole virus thing goes, the numbers, all that sort of situation. But they were looking at a fairly substantial lengthy period, including possibly the notion that until there's a vaccine for this thing. Shaq and I had a brief conversation about, if there would be ways around that in our county. And I think going forward, those kind of time frames are probably more of a worst case scenario. I would like to think by the time this kitchen remodel is done, by the time we're settled back into our kitchen here, come late summer, there should be a good chance of having meals on site. If not, we'll look at drafting something to find an exception or a waiver, depending on what other sites or what the state is recommending. We can throw out ideas such as having meals with groups of less than 10 and maybe doing 11:30 and a 12:30 type of a lunch situation. In other words, the idea of just getting people back on site. We will just kind of play it by ear like most other people, but the sooner the better, I think, for all of us, and I think for our seniors too. They want to be here. If it was up to them, they would actually be all here eating a meal every day. They don't seem to be bothered by the COVID as much as a lot of the young people. I don't see as much angst in them, but in order, obviously, for their protection and safety, we're gonna be really safe, really slow, and do this thing right. The food supply, the milk has been the big thing. We order milk, we can't get it. Lori Thompson was able, finally, this morning actually, she just came to my office and was able to secure, I think, 80 quarts that we can deliver out. So the milk supply, for some reason, has just not been there, and some of the produce hasn't been there. I do know there's been a few meat plant closings in the country since I drafted this little memo, this little update. We have not seen meat as of yet be a supply issue. We're on hand. We still have quite a lot of meat here at the site, in our freezers and in the freezers out at the fairgrounds. So at least in the interim, we're okay. And then hopefully things will ease and those plants will fire back up and the supply chain won't be as risky as what we're hearing. But we are good for the meat for a while.
John, I have a
Friday.
John,
go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the produce side of it, have you ever reached out to Jeff Coulon that's growing the produce in those big greenhouses at the south of town? If you get short of produce, maybe there's a local source.
You know, I haven't, and part of it is I think I just lost track of you mentioning, and the other part is I had forgot his name. And
okay, Jeff Coulon.
How do you spell that, Commissioner?
Coulon.
O-N.
Okay, I will definitely do that. I know the share house is doing some produce boxes, but this is something I do want to tap into. So that's I will actually reach out to him probably today, actually. So yeah, that has been a little bit with the vendors, the produce. So Friday we sent out a box to every client, and then we are transitioning to the Legion this week. So once I get off the horn here, we'll start hauling stuff over. We got the keys to the facility yesterday, and we'll start hauling food over there and getting ready. And then our first site cooked meal will be Friday. So then we'll be back to the regular schedule with the just cooking from the Legion. I don't anticipate on-site meals at the Legion, even if this thing were to lessen in the next couple of weeks. I think it's going to be a situation where we just deliver for now for the next month. The kitchen should be done within that 4 to 6 week time frame, and we'll be back here doing it. So we'll just be using the Legion just to cook meals. There's been a few days this week where they won't get that meal, but they all did get a supply for the week. For the COVID practices, we're doing the standard like everybody else. Keep your distance. We have masks for folks if they need them. Sanitizing. We have not had a walk-in client as of yesterday or today. We did take quite a few, some applications for home-delivered meals during the closure, but that was one of those things where we would meet them at the door, hand them the application, set up a time for them to bring it back, and then and take it back in and get them into our system. So at least with the doors being open now, people can walk in and we can hand them an application. I don't think there was any major disruptions other than just maybe the headache of trying to time it to meet someone at the door to give them the applications, because we still have people applying for the traditional Meals on Wheels programs. There is the Next Steps National Certification COVID program. Once we get a chance for staff to sit down, we're going to all run through that. I think it's important at least we go through that certification process. That's very inexpensive and probably some good guidelines and some good practices there. So we will do that with staff. Activities, that's just going to be on hold for a while. I mean, we can reconsider, come middle of the month, again, depending on what, the state is saying other sites are doing. All of our, the Tai Chi, the strengthening class, the computer classes, that's all a vulnerable population. And with the annex being filled up with stuff from the remodel, I don't see those activities firing back up likely till June. And that's okay. okay. I haven't heard from any of the instructors yet. I haven't heard from anybody about it, but we will get those back up as soon as possible. Again, just depending on all the criteria and the conditions, information from the health department and what folks are saying out there. But I think it's going to be from our end of it. We're still just focusing on the food security needs, some of the loneliness factors, being there for them, and then hopefully going forward shortly, and then at least in the next few months, things will start to open up and ease and get things back on track.
All right, thank you, John. Commissioners, do you have any additional questions for John?
Just glad to hear your kitchen remodel has begun, and hopefully it'll go along smoothly and you can get reconnoitered back in your own facility. But glad to
Yeah, we feel good. They're moving quick. They're moving really quick, actually, so we're pleased with that.
Good.
And that we've been able to keep everybody fed with those 7-day meals that we were able to get out, even though we had a little bit of a disruption. They're still getting fed. So thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate it, Commissioners.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yep,
for
bye-bye.
the report.
Yep.
CSU Extension, Greg Felsen.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Can
Morning,
you hear me?
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks so much for having me today, and I'm going to give a good report on the Montezuma County Extension Office. And so first, we have to go off of Colorado State University Extension directives, and at this time until May 15th, they have suspended face-to-face programming. And so we have been in constant communication with our regional directors, our campus leadership as well too, on understanding what maybe guidelines will be after that May 15th date. So with that directive, we've had to adapt, improvise, and overcome. And with that, of moving more virtually in what we are doing. So Shaq's putting up on the screen right now sort of our CSU food systems COVID-19 response. And this is a great resource that I've been able to share a little bit of some of the documents that's come out through the Montezuma Business Task Force as well too. So you're looking at up-to-date information on USDA loans, other assistant programs during this kind of emergency time. So farmers and ranchers can look at that and click on different reports that are being done through the USDA, through farm service agencies, kind of Colorado Department of Agriculture as well too. It also looks at helping farmers and ranchers get on to online platforms, if that's an ability that they want to take to do some more direct sales distribution ends onto that. So I've been highlighting that to community members and trying to get that out as much as possible. Obviously, it is changing all the time with everything else, and trying to get it the most up-to-date information for our clientele and constituency in our area. However, I want to highlight, Shaq, the next website that was produced by one of our local farmers. So I want to highlight Mindy Perkovich and Mike Nolan of Mountain Roots Produce, who created this wonderful resource for producers in our area. And that's definitely, it looks like John has left us, but I'll follow up with John on what is available in our area through our local producers. And so it's a website that has a interactive map that you can look at and find local farmers in our area, be able to connect with them on what produce they do have available. Now, obviously we're in a early spring season, so you're looking at a lot of your greens out there that are available. But if that's something that John wants to look at for produce boxes as well too, or any consumer out there in our area that wants to assess or access healthy local food. And so I think we've seen that is like, especially for our local family farmers and ranchers is that distribution side of direct sales, be it be schools, hospitals, restaurants being a big one, has been a big disruption. And so where we're seeing that where their revenue streams have had to change, and maybe more on the small scale family farmers end, where those sales are declining or looking to decline, they have to look to share through community supported agriculture projects where people are getting boxes monthly. The demand for that has gone way up. And until we get back to somewhat business as normal with those restaurants and other universities and larger markets, this is a great tool for people to access. So CSU is just a sponsor of this and looking to work with, obviously, our local farmers and ranchers. But big kudos to, like I said, Mindy and Mike with Mountain Roots Produce for getting this going and how we can support this more. With that as well, too, is Extension's been able to be a host and work with our Cortez Farmers Market in the anticipation of them getting rolling. June 6th would be the start of the Cortez Farmers Market. So I've been working closely with Jody Sutton, the market manager, and we hosted a meeting last night with just basically the steering committee. And I'll be on a statewide call tomorrow, understanding a little bit more with all of the Colorado Farmers Markets Association and the CDPHE on what those guidelines are going to look like for farmers markets. So the meeting last night really looked at right now, it's just a food market. What the possibility of having other vendors at this point, that isn't allowed, I believe, or minimal, like if you were vending bracelets or those type of markets. It's food only based. And with that, how do you design farmers markets to have that 6-foot spacing, but also wearing masks, limiting that face-to-face contact, and following all those guidelines. So Jody and I will be following up with Bobby Locke and our local public health department, just to all of us be very clear on what the guidelines are, so that we can direct local farmers and vendors at that market to be prepared for that June 6th date. Luckily, we have a little bit more time than, say, the Durango Farmers Market that's opening up next weekend, May 8th, or the following weekend. And so Jody and I were thinking of possibly going over there and checking that out to see how that's run before ours is run as well too. And that's going to come through also making sure that maybe I can get an ag exemption through CSU specifically for face-to-face time as it deals with our food distribution and food security ends onto that. One place that I do have a ag exemption on is our Southwest Research Station out in Yellow Jacket. And so happy to report on the horticultural end that Tom and I have been able to go out there, Tom Hooten, Gus Westerman, Kenny Smith, on that end and make sure that that orchard management project out in Yellow Jacket is looking good. And it's looking beautiful right now. And so I'm hoping with all this good weather or warm weather currently, you will see, actually I'm going out Thursday, and it should be beautiful. And I'll take pictures for everyone because the peach and plum blossoms are just about going to head out and really gorgeous out there right now. We were able to last week as well too get the Master Gardeners online virtually, and there's a lot of great resources through CSU as well too, that they're starting virtual programming. I'm actually in my backyard. I think tomorrow going to look at doing some mini grow tunnels to show gardeners in our area what certain spring cold weather crops that you could get into the soil now via either direct planting or small transplants. But knowing that, yeah, this is good weather, but we all know the Southwest, it could turn the next week and we could have freezing temperatures. So protecting your vegetables, but being aware of that. And then my final end is on the 4-H youth development end. And I just want to highlight the great work that Andrea Jeter's doing as our 4-H program coordinator and really adapting to, we established a Zoom extension account so that we can continue to have shooting sports meetings, to club meetings, to Andrea's done a backyard chicken class for people that are getting, or poultry management and all of that. And so keeping at least our 4-H community together and letting them know that this is a tough time, especially for our youth as well too, but you can be engaged in still program and project development onto that end. And so the big deal, and I think this is something, again, we'll have to work together with SHAC, the commissioners, the county health department as well too. Unfortunately, last month's Fair Board meeting had to be postponed, and I've sent SHAC an email this morning, so it's kind of late, that he'll share with the commissioners as well too, of where we're sort of at with county fair planning. And, doing our homework in seeing that what are our options depending on the unknown of where things go with the COVID-19 and the governor's and the county's directives towards larger and bigger events. So put in some suggestions of, what are our options? Yes, we want to have a traditional fair like every summer. What is that reality though, and what is sort of a due date of, as we know, there's a lot of planning that goes into that. What about a suggestions of fair with restrictions? Are we looking at that? Are we looking at a virtual fair as well too, that some other counties are doing, they're looking to do throughout the country and also in our state as well too. And then the unfortunate reality if we do have to cancel it as well too, of at the end of the day, I think all of us would be on agreement is a large part of county fair, especially from extension end, is we want to support our youth. And the big thing with our youth a lot of times is our youth livestock members. And with that, what is the reality of shows, auction, and awards? And with the amount that we rely on with our amazing community businesses and partners and how much they're struggling and what that's going to mean, we need to start talking and coming up with options on all of these scenarios so that we are prepared for a larger event in July. So that's where, this document that Andrea did, which is wonderful, that I back and support, kind of looks at kind of where we're at and what are some of the options moving forward. That it would be great to get county commissioners' comments on it, Fair Board comments on it as well too. So when we do finally, if that's a virtual way for right now or in the future, we're talking realistically about the Summer County Fair. With that, the last thing I'll just mention is we did get a Abdel, who used to be the research manager out in Yellow Jacket, as last. I think we'd be a full advisory committee if we got one more application into that, and then we can move the ball forward with a full advisory committee for extension. And then I guess if there's any questions or anything more I can provide, this is the time to ask the questions. But I appreciate the support, understanding that our CSU extension ends are sort of in, until May 15th, until we know more. There is a suspension of face-to-face programming, but want to be as transparent and let you know how we're adapting to that as possible.
Yeah, Greg, I've got a question. I'm pretty certain that Mr. Hooton will retire the 1st of June. Has CSU confided or talked to you about his replacement, where you're going to, how and where we're going to look for that second agent, the replacement to Tom?
Absolutely. So thank you for mentioning that. Actually, he did put in a resignation, but it actually in July 3rd, I believe the date is. And so with that, I've met with Shaq with the memorandum of understanding that both CSU and the county has signed off on getting that next agent in there. And I'd have to reach out again to my regional director, CJ Mucklow, on understanding now that, from what I understand, there still has not been a hiring freeze put on through CSU Extension during these COVID time, and they're still looking to hire as normal. What that's going to look like based off budget cuts and budget restrictions on a state end, I'm not 100% sure on, so I can follow up on that. But my intentions are that they hold up to that commitment, and that if something after Tom leaves opens up their ability to hire again, we'd be looking at a full-time to half-time family and consumer science agent. I'm pretty certain that I can take on a lot of the master gardener or horticultural end of it with my position as well too, that position would be more family and consumer science based.
Greg, when does their fiscal year end, or begin or end?
It ends the end of June and begins in July.
So they'd be starting a brand new fiscal year after he's retired, or at his retirement. So it would definitely be budgeted into that cycle, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I got a comment, Greg.
Yes.
Speaking for myself, I would hope that we can come up with some form of having the fair, whether it was virtual or not. I know that time is going to tell what direction that goes, but they spend a lot of money buying those animals. They spend a lot of time raising them, and we've got to come up with a way to go through with the fair, depending on how the situation changes.
I think that even virtually, I mean, obviously that's probably the last option, but hopefully the state, CSU, everybody's on board, even if it has to go that route, that we can still continue it. I know it's not going to be obviously like the past, but to still get something going to make sure that it does happen.
Well, I appreciate you commissioners mentioning that, because I think, like I said, we're all on that same intention that we need to support these youth members, especially our youth livestock members, with the amount of financial funding that they've already put into these projects, but also with reaching out to see how we can provide a premium for these youth in these challenging times.
Well, I got an idea for you, Greg. What we can do, since we closed all the we didn't, but since the governor closed all of the small businesses, they're the ones that are by the animals. Let's go to Walmart and City Market and Safeway and have them step up to the table, because they've been the ones that's been
The
making
liquor
all the
stores
money
and the
as our
pot
small,
shops.
as our small businesses suffered. So
Yeah.
we should reach out to them.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Greg, I'm looking at this. We've been in this COVID deal for approximately 60 days, correct? We've got 90 days almost virtually until county fair time starts the end of July. I would like to see us take the positive tact and plan to be out of this COVID-19. The way our county's going right now, we're plateaued out. We're in a flat stretch. There's nothing going on with COVID-19 in our county. I want to see us plan to have a county fair at the end of July. And I mean a real county fair, not a virtual county fair or a half-baked county fair, but have our county fair at the end of July into the first part of August.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's definitely an option that we're continuing to plan in that perspective. It's you know, and that's where reaching out to Bobby with the public health department, and hopefully those they allow us to have those larger gatherings as well too.
I'm hoping that will be available to us when the time comes.
In 90 days.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank
Very
you, Greg.
well done.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
You too,
as
Greg.
well. County Attorney report. John Baxter. Good morning, John.
Morning, virtual John.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
So, with Mr. Candelaria, I know you reached out to Congressman Tipton. They contacted me yesterday after I emailed them the petitions for Denver TV, and they want to meet this afternoon. So both, when I say they, a representative from Congressman Tipton's office and a representative from Senator Gardner's office are meeting with me this afternoon to discuss any ways that they might be able to help move along our petition for Denver TV.
Good.
Our other cases are, of course, still ongoing. Walmart was trying to join all the county cases, the different counties, into one hearing on the Front Range. And I think maybe a county or two agreed to that, but overwhelmingly the majority of us objected. We objected to that. Hopefully we don't get joined with them. I don't think we will, but that's what they're trying to do, is move us to the Front Range and consolidate all their cases, essentially to make less work for them. But we're fighting that. I've got a meeting with on our PAX case this afternoon with our insurance attorney to discuss basically moving forward on that case. If you recall Jim Spratlin talking about the non-congregate sheltering, we've put in a lot of work, I think, over the last week or more, trying to get those agreements in place, and we have not had those approved yet. My assumption is that they're going to get approved. Until then, we're basically eating whatever costs that we incur for this non-congregate sheltering, and hopefully FEMA's going to reimburse us for all of that, or for the percentage that they agree to reimburse us for. In the meantime, since we do have, I think, at least one person who's already using that, I think we just keep a watch on it, make sure that our expenses don't get out of control, just on the off chance that we don't get the approval from FEMA. I'm fairly certain we are going to get it, but we have not received it yet. It sounds like, I think that stuff just went out maybe yesterday to even get approved.
John, who are we sheltering, and why are we sheltering? Who?
Commissioner, we are sheltering. I've got to be careful how I say this without violating any HIPAA, but we have a family in the transient population that didn't have a home, who had a member test positive for COVID-19, and to keep them from interacting with the population, we found money in the Department of Social Services to shelter them and their family, to keep them out of the rest of the population.
So it's more of a quarantine?
Correct.
Right. So, and
there may be more coming too, but my assumption is that our approval from FEMA should also be pretty soon. I think that's it. You know, as far as court goes, I think I reported to you all last week that the chief of the Supreme Court ordered that there won't be any jury trials in Colorado through the month of May, at least until June 1st. You know, that order's been extended a couple times. Right now, it goes through June 1st, and so there won't be any jury trials. There's not a whole heck of a lot of in-court appearances, if any. Usually everything is WebEx, which is similar to Zoom, or you can do it through the phone. So I think that's it. Do y'all have any questions?
I have none. Thank you, John. Thank you for following up with that email with Congressman Tipton and those other people that I had sent to you. I appreciate that.
See how our meeting goes this afternoon.
Yeah, and I know that John Whitney, that with Bennett's office, is interested in helping us as well. So,
Do you suggest that I reach out to him and try to include him in this meeting, or do I need to run that by these other offices first?
I think you should. Well, they reached out to us and said that they're willing to help. So I would reach out to John Whitney as well.
I will before this afternoon. I'll see if he wants to join us.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with Commissioner Sukla. I think Bennett's office and Whitney were instrumental in this whole La Plata County, from the beginning with La Plata County and us when we started in. I think they're another form of support that we should have going into this meeting. So I agree with Commissioner Sukla.
And I'll third that. But one thing else that I do want to make people aware of out there, and I think we've stated this in the past, that really only directs, or only, touches the people with Direct TV and Dish. You can still get Denver TV if you just place an antenna to the translator. So, I don't want people to think that there's no absolute way they can't go get it right now. I've been watching it on a translator for the last 7 or 8 years. So we're working on this diligently to get it through Dish and Direct TV. But if you want to stay in touch with what's going on in the state of Colorado, I would recommend probably, I'm going to take a guess, it's under $100 for an antenna. Get it installed, and you can start seeing everything that we're following in the state of Colorado.
So that's a very good point. You absolutely can get it in Montezuma County. I don't know the science behind it. My understanding is that was not available in La Plata, but it is available in Montezuma County.
Right.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Have a safe day.
Thank you.
We have the Natural Resource Planning and Public Lands report by our Director, James Dietrich. Good morning, James.
Morning, James. Wonderful.
James, will you turn that mic on, please?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
There you go.
So this morning I have 2 letters of support that I'm bringing forward. The first one is regarding the BLM hazardous fuels treatment that's been proposed in La Plata County. As I brought this forward last week, I think we all concluded that providing just a general letter of support would be appropriate for this project. Some of the fuels treatment does abut Montezuma County up in the East Canyon area, certainly a fire-prone area, so there is probably some benefit. So anyway, I'm just asking for a motion for support letter to be sent to the BLM regarding the BLM hazardous fuels treatment.
Is that why we were involved in this? We have property that abuts up to some of the treatment areas.
I think that's why they included us.
Notify everybody that's within that.
Right. By and large, all this treatment is in La Plata County, so just the part that's on the edge is really relevant to us. I think we support hazardous fuels treatments in general. So, rubbing their back, hopefully we'll get a response if we ever get fuels treatment on this side, which is probably unlikely since most of it's wilderness in that area.
Yeah.
So.
So I would move that we accept or move the letter forward to the BLM Tres Rios field office to Ian Barrett in favor for the BLM hazardous fuels treatments.
Second.
Motion second to approve the letter to Mr. Barrett on the BLM hazardous fuel treatment program. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The second letter I have is a letter of support being requested by the owners of the Twin Spruce fishing ponds, which are up Dolores River Highway 145. Those ponds have been open for fishing for about 3 years now, and they are finally working through the final agreements to transfer that over to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And so the owner has been in here in the past, and in the past we've supported this this transfer, and so they just need a final letter of support to help them push this through.
And those are some fantastic fishing ponds.
You're not kidding, and they're so accessible and so handy for people to get to. It's absolutely a win-win. Yeah.
Great fishing ponds. So I would move that we send a letter of support to in regard to the Twin Spruce fishing ponds on Highway 145, Dolores, Colorado.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve a letter presented from the Montezuma County Board of Commissioners in favor of the Twin Spruce fishing ponds to the Parks and Wildlife. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I think this one in particular is a really good success story in terms of opening things up to private property, or opening up things to public access. The adjacent landowners that had a lot of concerns really have had no problems to speak of, other than a few people driving down the wrong road, you know. So. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I think that's really all I had for the day.
James, I have one question, and you may not be able to remember offhand, but out there on our Sage Hen Trail that we were looking at, trying to go down off of Sage Hen and down and make that an off-road vehicle trail down into the dam area down below on the Dolores River. Can you recall how far away? I know that Division of Parks and Wildlife said there was a possible nesting site of a golden or bald eagle nesting site. Do you recall the distance that was from the trail when they proposed that?
I want to say that was within a quarter of a mile.
Quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
I've got one really good example I'd like for us to keep in our quiver of arrows for them. I've got a photograph of a bald eagle nesting tree that is about 150, 200 yards maximum off Highway 491 with an active pair nesting in that nest right off of that highway. And they don't seem to be bothered one bit about that 491 traffic going right next to their nesting area. And I'd like for somebody to tell me, why is it okay for two bald eagles to pick a nesting site 150 yards from a highway that is way more active, way more loud, way more traffic than will ever go down that Sage Hen Trail, and yet they're saying a quarter of a mile distance off the Sage Hen Trail is going to make that a non-nesting site for these birds. So I want us to when we have our next meeting with Forest Service or Division of Parks and Wildlife, I'm going to have that photograph available, and it's got pictures of the eagles in the nest. I want them to tell me, why is it okay for them to nest 150 yards from Highway 491 and we can't have an off-road trail that's a quarter of a mile from a sometime used, not actively used, nesting site on that OHV trail?
That's a really good question.
It doesn't make a damn bit of sense to me.
You know, that also...
They use that to stop things. They use that
absolutely.
to stop things. They never use it to promote things. It's always, how can we stop you from doing something?
You know, that sparks another question. We actually haven't had the Division of Parks and Wildlife been here for quite some time.
A long time.
Right.
It would be good to, you know, especially with the hunting season coming up, the economic challenges, everybody, it would be, you know, this community benefits greatly from hunting. It would be good to, if they have an estimate or something of what they think how our hunting season will turn out this year based on,
It looks like it.
because it'll affect us.
It will affect us. Does that lie strictly within the hand of the Forest Service right now, or is that, as far as that trail going off,
Yeah,
it's
with
strictly in the
this
hand of the
Sage
Forest
area?
Service right now?
Yes, it's a Forest Service decision.
So the guidelines that they're following are their national guidelines that have been set forth by the Forest Service?
Well, set forth by U.S. Fish and Wildlife
Fish and
Service.
Wildlife.
Okay, so the Fish and
Yeah.
Wildlife, okay.
And supported by, Colorado Fish and Wildlife, Parks and Wildlife, because they were certainly a part of that mix too, and were certainly ones that were very opposed to this from the very get-go. So all the way along, this has been, they were just looking for the excuse, and the eagle was just perfect, fell right in their lap, so.
Okay.
James, do you know where we stand with the marina, with the breakwater, broken 3 pieces? When
Okay.
are they opening the lake?
My understanding, I can't give you the firm date on the lake, I can't recall what that was, but it was pushed back just a little bit here. It
It's
seems
in
like
May
it's going to be about
sometime.
mid-May. And I haven't been up there to investigate the breakwater yet. I heard that it is in 3 pieces
I've seen it.
and that it may be in big trouble.
Yeah.
So with regards to the marina, I believe that Doc is he's still trying to get them to approve it over in the House Creek area. We were told at one point that we may not have to do any additional NEPA, and then we were told later, hey, not so fast. Depending on what they plan to do, NEPA may be required. So it may be just as easy as where he puts the gangplank down onto the ground, and they may need to do NEPA for that, according to the way I'm reading that. So, I mean, I think unless we get a pretty clear picture from Doc on that, what he does plan to do, we're not going to understand whether NEPA is going to be required or not.
Okay.
So, we'll pull for him. I mean, I think it's the best place at this point for his particular operation. In the future, that lake is wide open. It's how it is up there. It's like having your own private third largest or second largest reservoir in the state, and so it is an incredibly underutilized resource. And however we can figure out how to market it, it's an opportunity. Economic development opportunity for sure. But somebody's got to see it that way and got to make the numbers work, and that's harder. It is difficult here. We've all seen that prospectus, and anybody wants to look at it again, I can send it over again.
Thank you, James.
Thank you,
for
James.
that.
You bet, gentlemen.
James, will you turn that mic back on, please?
And then we'll, County Administrator Report, Mr. Shack Powers.
All right, so the first thing I have for you gentlemen is the March payables report that I've sent to all of you. I trust you've had time to look it over. So from County General, sorry, top here, gotta start at the very beginning. Starting with the general fund and then working our way down.
General fund.
County general was 1.5 million. Road and bridge comes to 717,000. Public health 153,000. Capital fund 30,000. Administration fund 123,000. And landfill 68,000. And social services you already approved this morning was 1.1. So total for all county budgets spent in the month of March, $3,002,130.30.
Say that again.
$3,002,130.30.
$130.
$3,002,130.30.
So I would move that we accept the payables for the month of March as displayed on the screen in the amount of $3,200,130.30.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the March payables for the Montezuma County in the amount of $3,200,130.30. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 The next thing I have is to let the commissioners know that we began our soft reopening yesterday. The assessor's office, clerk's office, treasurer's office are open to in-person service. However, the number of people in the building is being restricted. Barriers have been installed between staff and the constituents. Physical distancing is being enforced, and they do have someone at the door controlling the number of people in and out. Employees are wearing masks. The county does encourage people to continue to conduct business online as they're able. The Department of Social Services is open downstairs. Our enrollment and eligibility techs are working. They are also enforcing the physical distancing. We put in extra hand sanitizing stations downstairs. If anybody needs to call for an appointment, 565-4105. Our planning department is open in person by appointment, same for GIS and mapping and natural resources. You can also start your permitting processes, anything with the county now, at co-co.smartgovcommunity.com. So if you want to begin your permitting process online there, you can get most of it done there. You heard Veteran Services, they're open again this morning with their protocols, and the fairgrounds has reopened the outdoor arena. They are enforcing the distancing and extra sanitizing. All other departments continue to run as normal. Yesterday, I spent a good portion of the morning in a meeting with Heather Alvarez, Ken Charles, and John Doherty from the municipalities. We worked on revising our plan to be able to reopen the county, to continue to petition CDPHE since we do not have the cases they're seeing on the Front Range. The governor's goal is 60% reduction in socialization, so we are writing into that plan to ask for certain businesses to be able to open at 40% of their occupancy, which would be a reduction of 60%, but to go ahead and be able to open. And we outlined the protocols and things that would need to be followed in there. We submitted that to the health department and hospital, to Dr. Aiken. I think Bridget is copied on that, and Bobby Locke is copied on that, and we asked for comments back by 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Good job.
Okay. That's a start.
That concludes my report.
So with that, I'll take over before he starts talking again. And I'll jump right in, right there, as far as public health. So I've asked Shaq already. I recommend that we have a meeting tomorrow with our public health department, along with the hospital, at 4 p.m. That gives them their time that they've needed to respond to this, so that we can get this submitted to CDPHE, so that we can get this moving forward at a rapid rate, to see if we can get this approved, to get the rest of our businesses at least operating at a capacity so that they can move forward. So 4 p.m. tomorrow, I'm recommending that we have a public health meeting. You guys okay at 4 p.m.?
I'm in agreement with that, and
Okay.
and I think it's a wise choice to meet and have our public health and our emergency manager and everybody there in the room and see how we can start to open up this county to some of the businesses that have been absolutely snuffed out, and
Okay.
it's time.
I'm in
All
agreement
right.
as well,
Yeah.
Commissioner.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So are we going to have the meeting here then?
I
I'm
would
fine with
assume
that.
that we have it right here.
Yeah.
We can still have 10 people in here. It's kind of
and we
odd
can-
looking
we can
out there
social
and
distance a number of others too. yeah.
seeing nobody in the audience, but
Yeah.
you know, that's okay. We're keeping our distance, and
Yeah.
we can still have our meetings. We are open. We are following the guidelines. So I just think that we need to start moving in a positive manner. I think we all can agree on that and see what we can do. awaiting the public health comments and then see what we can do to put our heads together to get this shipped to CDPHE just as quickly as we can, because we know how quickly they move.
And I think we asked for a turnaround time on that too. I think once we submit it to them, we put in a request that we would like to have a response in no later than 5 or 7 day, whatever we term.
We can request it, that doesn't mean we're gonna get it.
Right,
But you won't get it if you don't ask for it.
That's right, and
Correct.
and tell them that we want a turnaround time with a specific set of times so that we can start to implement the plan that we've got for our county.
Right, because we are definitely not, in comparison to some of the other counties in the state of Colorado, and I realize they have their opposition for doing what they're doing, but we don't have the cases here, and we don't have the same geographical areas, and we can move within that. So everything I think that we can do to help our people here, I think this is positive. It's just another meeting. We've been going to Zoom meetings every day, 2 or 3 a day. So I don't think that's a big deal. So 4 o'clock tomorrow. You heard earlier, obviously, Attorney Baxter and myself have been sending emails back and forth. I've been talking to Congressman Tipton, obviously, on the TV, Denver channels through Dish and Direct. We kind of went over that. I did get an email. We talked last week. The email came from Laurel Schaefer. I had recommended that we use possibly the old Pleasant View Fire Station for the ozone monitoring, because the request is that they want to get rid of it outside of the city limits because of the traffic. It's just too big of a congested area. I recommended that building, which was closer to Kinder Morgan's areas. I recommended the landfill, and I also recommended the fairgrounds. Now, 2 of those are off of a highway, but we'll see what they come back with. She is trying to move it along, but obviously it's not at the forefront of everybody's burner. To add some of the other monitoring that we were talking about, there's some significant cost to that. So at this point in time, I'm not sure we even want to deal with that. It's just a matter of if we can get the monitoring for the ozone pushed out. So we are following up on that. The MBT, the Montezuma Business Task Force, the Tri-City Chambers, the ones that are working together with all of our businesses, have put out now a back to business toolkit, which, along with what we try to do tomorrow, again, will hopefully help our local businesses that have been significantly impacted. And I stress to all of the people to get with the chambers, reach out to them and this task force, and try to utilize this back to business toolkit. I think if we're all moving in the right direction, we're going to get these people going sooner than later. And other than the Zoom meetings that we already approved all of the minutes for, I have nothing else.
Yes, I was involved in the Zoom meeting yesterday with our update from our health department, Karen Dixon and Bobby Locke and all the affiliated people in there, and I think we left that meeting with the idea that, or at least I tried to implant the idea that this meeting we're going to have tomorrow, that we're going to be talking about how we can get things opened up in this county and get things moving back into an economic stance. So that's really all I've attended, are those Zoom meetings and the extra meetings that we've had here as commissioners. So that's all I have.
And just the public, I've never had my phone ring so much before as a commissioner. So, and I know the other 2 commissioners, the same thing. So our phones are available. Give us a call, and we'll try to answer the question. If we don't have the questions, then we'll try to find the answer to the question for you. So we're available, and thank you for calling and your concerns. That's all I have.
Okay.
Okay, so for the public comment period, then they've been going back and forth amongst themselves. There's over 200 comments. So I put starting here, that the commissioners will be finished with their reports. Please post comments or questions you have for the commissioners now. The first one is from TOXO 9396. If businesses can maintain more than 6 feet distance and they meet their requirements with sanitizer, allow more seating than 40%. Possibly in the next phase, I don't know if we can push that through at this point. J. Fargo's has a plan in place that goes over the minimum requirements.
J. Fargo's plan is very well thought out.
I agree with
Very
that.
well thought out. I think they've sent that plan to us.
I have also reviewed that plan. It is a very well thought out plan. Kudos to
Tiffany.
Tiffany and your staff for what you guys are thinking. I think that's the kind of thinking we need to have, is still trying to maintain some calm out of this storm and progressive, proactive thinking. So thank you, Tiffany.
And then Dexter Gill says, whatever seating of 6 foot provides maintaining fire code loading. And that's what we're asking for in the plan. Dexter is 40% of the fire occupancy with 6 foot in between tables. Okay. All right, does anybody have any other comments or questions that they would like to ask of the commissioners at this time?
You know, I do see a comment there about the J. Fargo plan. Have you seen the plan, Shaq?
I have.
How could we get that plan out to the public? Well, I guess we'd have to.
I've already asked, it's been shared with the Montezuma Business Task Force.
Good.
So
Okay,
that
okay.
plan has been sent out so that people can start reviewing it in how it affects them and their occupancy. You know, J. Fargo's has a pretty large occupancy, but some may not. So it's a guideline for how they can start moving forward. Now, obviously, it's not they've got to tailor it to their occupancy load.
Sure.
So that is being shared with the MBT, and then they will meet again on, I believe it's Thursdays, when we're meeting on Zoom.
So MB is asking, will the meeting tomorrow be public? As far as I know, it will be. We'll be broadcasting it. I don't know that we will be taking public comment, though, MB. And the purpose of the meeting will not be to discuss the J. Fargo plan, but to discuss our plan. So,
Correct, and I can definitely say it'll be a viewed public meeting.
Yeah.
It's a public health meeting tomorrow, so obviously, as always, it'll be open, or it'll be able to be viewed.
Yeah, and for those of you out there that are watching, the Board of Montezuma County is also the Board of Health, and tomorrow we will be meeting as the Montezuma County Board of Health.
Correct.
So,
Perfect.
anything else, commissioners, for the good of the order?
I look forward to meeting tomorrow afternoon and taking some positive actions and getting something submitted to CDPHE and get this county headed in another direction.
Yeah, so tomorrow, I guess what we could tell them, we're going to have that feedback, and we're going to be able to make a decision as the
Yep.
Board of Health to move the plan forward.
Yep. I certainly hope to. I certainly
Correct.
plan
Well,
on
we're
it.
supposed to have that back today so that it gives us time to review it
Right,
also,
review what
because
their
otherwise
comments are, but
we
yeah.
wouldn't be able to review the comments.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why it's going to be at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
and not earlier, because everybody has to have time to review all of the information that's being submitted. I also got one more text here while we're talking, and I will also, just along so that you gentlemen know, that Rob recommended that we also can suggest the communication tower location up at the end of V.6 as a site for the ozone monitor. And I forgot that we even had that out there, but he is correct. Thank you, Rob. And thank you for the people that also do utilize text messaging through this.
Yeah, and I actually got a text as well. Our senior center manager has already reached out with Mr. Coulon, and maybe they're working out a deal on a shortage for produce. So
Great. That's
good for you, John.
That's the way it should work, John. Yeah.
Anything else, commissioners?
Oh, I wanted to ask Kim Purcell. Kim, have you opened up any of your the clerk and recorder's office publicly? Are you now admitting public into your office?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
So what we are doing right now is we are taking appointments for anybody that wants to come in. We're having them call into the office. If we can take care of the business through the phone or through the Dropbox, we are doing it that way. And then if we have to set up any type of appointment, we are bringing them in. And that's how we're handling it at this time.
Okay, gotcha.
And I got a question. When would you be ready for the documents to be signed?
Today's documents?
Yes.
You've signed most of them.
Do I got everything signed?
I think you've got
If you signed
everything.
it, I passed it down.
Yes, sir. It's
I
signed.
think
All
you have
right, thank
everything
you.
but the minutes themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim. I would move that we adjourn this meeting at 11 o'clock.
Well, we gotta wait 4 minutes then, don't we?
Well, not according to digital time.
Okay, I'll second that adjournment motion.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting at 9 o'clock. All those in favor? Or 10 o'clock?
Aye.
No time frame.
Aye, aye.
Commissioner Candelaria?
Aye.
Aye.